Welcome to the Riders Lounge. I'm Shane Johnsen, and I was able to get Tony Lefroy on for one more episode, which is a rarity.
Hey, folks.
I keep dragging him in, but we had one more board we really had to talk about. It's one of my favorites in the line.
One of my favorites.
And we're going to talk about the Capita Navigator. All right, so this is like the British Columbia special.
Yeah.
This board evolved from my other favorite board, where we have one right here, the Devour BALDFACE, the Charlie Slasher. That was just the killer tapered board from 10 plus years ago now.
Yeah.
If you were riding in BC, you were riding POW, you were riding in the Kootenays, you usually had one of those in your quiver. That was the shape of the time, and then it evolved. We get the Navigator 4 years ago now.
Yeah. I think it's
Roughly.
a couple more years than that. Yeah.
Slightly different nose back then, and now we've kind of evolved into this shaping.
Yeah.
Let's get into the details of this, Tony, because this is a true directional free ride.
Yeah. I mean, like Blue's original concept with
The Slasher.
the Charlie Slasher was, you get a board where you put a bunch of taper in it, and this had a lot of taper, 25 mils of taper, but not a lot of setback. I think this board was maybe set back a half an inch, but the whole concept from the beginning was, we were making all these tapered shaped POW boards, and all these boards were really way in the back seat, really short tail, big old wide nose, these plows, and Blue kind of went, you already got this big old nose that's going to float. Why don't you just like center yourself over the side cut, ride it more like a, more truer to the center of the snowboard. The board's gonna float like a tapered shaped board because you got a big old wide nose on it. And then it feels like you're riding more of a regular snowboard, which is what most people ride. But, besides that kind of concept that he originally came with, you had a regular sized tail. So you had all the landing power you needed when you were in deep POW, because a lot of people were riding this. And if you were in the slack country and you got back onto the groomers, you could go ride the park. You could go ride some groomers. You could go feel comfortable riding more kind of regular snowboarding, if that's what we want to call it, versus POW riding. But you still had this like POW inspired shape. Obviously a POW inspired shape, but that was the whole concept, because everything at the time was wide nose, set yourself way far back, ride a POW board.
The short fats or the
He kind of went, it's already like that. Why don't we center ourselves over the side cut and you have a little bit more fun? So what we did with the Navigator is, kind of evolve that concept. So it was even more of a true kind of all mountain snowboard. And even though you call it this like true POW board, it's really like an all mountain board.
It can be the one board in your quiver. It doesn't have to be your powder quiver board.
No, not at all. And I mean,
I'm spoiled. So that's it for me. The 6-1 is my POW board because I get to have a Black Death and other boards.
Yeah, and I think when you talk to a lot of folks that ride this board that don't live, here in the Kootenays or coastal British Columbia, where we're swimming in POW all the time, this board is actually pretty widely used, certainly all over North America, as, like you said, a daily driver.
Yeah, versatile board.
And that's all types, all mountain conditions. And I think that's the nicest thing about this, is really it's kind of, you think it's this category, but it's really like this category.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And it will lend itself to an intermediate snowboarder.
Absolutely.
As well as, someone like myself, I've been riding a long time. The flex pattern's a little more chill.
Absolutely.
So you can foot steer this a bit. And then let's kind of talk about the shape.
Yeah, I would say this, sorry to interrupt, I would say this hangs more in the intermediate to advanced zone rather than a fully advanced snowboard.
Agreed.
It's very forgiving, very easy to ride. If you're an advanced snowboarder and you expect a really stiff board, and you get on this, you still appreciate what it is.
Well, you can foot steer this board, and I talk about that a lot too, but you can get into your back foot and kind of foot steer the board and power out. And this when you have a bit more mid-flexing board, that's when you notice and can learn those kind of techniques too. It's really, really fun.
Yeah.
And this one lends itself to that really, really well. Obviously a little stiffer back here, mellows out in the nose a bit. So it does, partly with the directional shape of this board, it lends itself to be directional and flex pattern. But what's the profile of it?
Like, it's funny, you know, this board, when we started with the Charlie Slasher, it was reverse camber nose, flat camber all the way back. Right. And then we built like, you know, a couple of different cambers when the Party Shark and the limited edition Party Shark came out. This Navigator had the camber much like the Death, I believe, where reverse camber, regular camber, flat camber, and then just a little bit of reverse at the contact zone. But what we did a few years ago is we put our V2 camber in it, and now it's, you know, I always call it Mercury camber, but it's our V2 camber where we're regular camber between the bindings, and then we're reverse camber nose and tail. So that, when we did that, it really made it even more versatile and more of kind of an every person, all mountain type snowboard. It gave you the ability to have those great days in the POW, but still be pretty playful when you got out of the POW and did a little bit more kind of all mountain riding.
Oh, an edge bite. So that bit of camber introduced again gives us a little bit more stability on the hard pack, the edge bite, the groomers, anything like that.
Well, that camber certainly against what it was in the beginning gave you more edge bite and a ton more ollie power, you know, which is great. That's what we all want. We want the juice. So
for sure.
Yeah.
So we get into this one has the ash top sheet.
Yeah.
And that's a little more damp than your standard. But again, just for durability, it's you know, it's one of my favorites for that. These things really hold up. You can probably see the binding marks. I rode this a lot last year in a lot of our testing. So, you know, me, the boys have been on this. There's been a lot of days on this board, and it still looks excellent.
Yeah, I mean, you asked me, you know, you've asked me in other episodes what daily drivers and what I like to ride, and I didn't even mention this. I said Party Shark, but this is in my quiver as well.
Yeah.
I ride this a lot, and it's Seymour days for me. It's Nelson days. It's Whistler days. This is like an everything board for me. You know, I ride a lot one way, but you can really use this as a very versatile snowboard, even though it's got a bit of taper. What I like about it, like you said, is it's got that core ash top sheet, which definitely has dampening properties. And then we've got these Technora boosters built into it. So Technora, these Technora flax boosters, I should say. Technora is, you know, built off an aramid fiber. Aramid fiber is Kevlar, right? That's like...
You put me on the spot there.
Yeah.
That was heavy. That was heavy. Yes, Kevlar.
That's like Kevlar. That works in tensile strength. Tensile strength gives you, you know, it's like a similar opposite thing to what carbon fiber does. Carbon fiber, you stretch it, it snaps back into place.
It has that memory.
Right, and Arabin fiber holds the strength in place. So it provides that tensile strength. It's also like a dampener. It works as a dampener in the snowboard. That paired with this wood top sheet gives it a really nice damp ride.
It's on a hard packed day, or like we do the Salmo nights. You guys have seen the episodes.
Yeah.
We've brought this out lots, and yeah, it grabs, but B, it's just got this smooth turning vibe to it. That,
you get it in the POW, it shines. You get it in the chunder, you get it on the ice, and it just is solid.
Yeah.
It charges real nice in every type of conditions, and that's everywhere in our zone, and that's everywhere in North America. We have all sorts of different types of conditions, and even those places where it doesn't snow a ton, this shines because it's such a good shock absorber that the thing rides incredibly well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Comes in a bunch of sizes. You can get this in a 56, a 58, 6'1", 6'4", and you can get a big dog. You can get a 6'7". I ride this one long. I go for the 6'1", again, partly because of the era of snowboarding I come from.
Right.
I like the longer boards.
And your big mountains.
And it's
snow.
the application.
Yeah.
But this does come in a women's specific sort of category too. There's a couple smaller models.
I mean, yeah, like we call the shorter sizes the women's Navigator, but I mean,
anybody.
We all know that snowboard gear is genderless. It really is. If it's sized to you, it fits your foot, you can ride it, it works for you.
Yeah.
So our shorter sizes, 47, 51, and I think the 47, the 51, and maybe the one other size below that, I believe, have like a white top sheet here. So these have these black implements. It's the same color story here, but then it goes to white. That's the shorter sizes. We call it the women's board because generally we're selling it to women, but it's really for every person that it fits. It's not a women specific or a men's specific snowboard. And I mean, I think that's nice because this is one of the very few boards in our line where you can really truly call it a unisex board.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really for everybody, you know?
Yeah, no, it's, again, you know, for the price, you're getting so much snowboard for that money.
Absolutely.
We'll talk base tech a little bit too. We like to nerd out. Tony's got a background in base materials, and he's half decent at tuning a snowboard at times. Half decent at that.
This has our hyperdrive base on it, so it's got a good high level base. You know, everything out of the Capita factory comes fully tuned. Yeah. That's a big deal when you consider that to go get a tune in any shop, certainly in Canada, can be 50, 60,
this
70.
Is $100.
It can be $100 to get a tune, but everything comes base ground, stone ground, base edge bevel, side edge tune, detuned out of the factory. But
again, we've been riding this board.
Yeah, but this high level hyperdrive base is going to accept a lot of wax. It's going to be fast and it's going to run good as long as you wax it and take care of it, right? Yep. I think that, you know, certainly with this board, just being that it's that kind of all mountain POW board, if we call it, or all mountain shredder, and having this good base and taking care of it, it's going to do everything that you want it to do everywhere, not just that kind of little category that we talked about, right?
Wax your snowboard lots. The more you wax it, the better, faster it'll get, the harder it'll get over time.
Yeah.
And, you know, each time a percentage, it'll haul ass.
Yeah. I think the other thing that's nice about this board is, you know, as we've upgraded it, you know, we've upgraded the core. This has our hover core in it, which is a poplar Polonia core. You know, poplar is a great base wood for snowboarding, tremendous strength to weight ratio, so really lightweight but really strong. You remember 25 years ago we were selling lots of boards that had aspen. Aspen is kind of morphed into poplar. The base wood for all Capita snowboards is poplar, and then we add in Polonia. And Polonia is very strong but incredibly lightweight.
And that's the new birch. Because remember back in the day, Option would have the birch stringers and kind of a hard wood, but it was a little
That's not
heavy.
the new birch is beech. The new birch is beech. That's your new birch.
Right. There we go.
Polonia is a very lightweight wood. It's a wood that's like comes from Asia.
But crazy strong.
Very strong, very lightweight. We actually have our own little forest of Polonia that we're growing in Italy. So it's just down the road, just across the border, and just down the road with from the mothership. So we work really closely to get kind of the highest level Polonia. And when you look at, you know, Black Deaths and Megadeths, they have crazy Polonia in them. So when we pair the Polonia with the poplar, great dampening properties, really lightweight, but also more than anything, really, really strong. Very lively.
Good,
absolutely.
lively, you get that snap, because you do notice that in the tail on this thing.
And you see a lot of Polonia. A lot of manufacturers are using Polonia. You see it in skis, you see it in snowboards, and it's a very, very good wood to use, like to pair with the poplar.
So this one has a unique Sidecut too. This is a parabolic taper.
Yeah.
So obviously we've talked about the taper, we know that, but we're running 8 into
6.8
back to 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, you know, that's cool. So that's given us a nice long entry, a little quicker here, and then a long exit.
Yeah, I think that might have been on the one size. We gotta check that.
Yeah, that was probably in the 5.8
but
we were looking at.
You get a deeper side cut in the middle of the snowboard and it mellows out in the tip and tail. Obviously you get lots of juice in the middle when you're deep in your turn. You know, nice because it gets you fast into the turn and then really quick exit, but easy on the initiation and the exit of the turns in the tip and tail because it mellows out a little bit.
And that's where the stability comes from too on those hard pack days. That's why we do like carving this board. You know, even you don't always think of a taper board as carving, but like Tony's been saying, it's a lot more versatile than the actual first appearance is.
Yeah, you know, like we mentioned, the taper on the original board that came out, you know, eons ago was 25 mils, so 2.5 centimeters, where this board is closer to a centimeter. I think on the shorter sizes, it's just under a centimeter. On the longest sizes, it's over a centimeter, but you get a centimeter of taper. So you get obviously the advantage of what taper gives you, floatability in the POW, which we talk about a lot. But the biggest thing that, you know, I always say is having that taper is great for initiating turns. You lay it on edge, it grabs, it really helps the board to turn. So for a lot of folks out there that, you know, want just an easy riding snowboard, maybe they don't ride switch a lot, you still can ride switch. This is like the optimal shape because it's great for turning. It's easy turning, it helps you to turn, and then it obviously gives you that those advantages in the pow of what, you know, that little bit of taper does. And the little bit of taper is always going to give you, you know, it's going to be better for you. You do a ton of taper, it kind of screws you up a bit when you're riding switch, right?
Yes.
When you do a centimeter of taper, you get those advantages, but you want to do a little
Still get
switch
that
riding.
tail stability.
It's not too much. It's just enough for a little bit of everything.
No, you can land, switch, revert on this, no
Totally.
problem. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's a very, very versatile board, and it's Tony. I'm glad we grabbed this one out of the quiver back there just before you left, because it's, you know, 100% worth talking about, and you can see by the binding marks on this. I mean, I rode this a lot last year. I tend to kept grabbing this deck, even like we say, even when it wasn't a POW day. So.
You know, like we talk about this board a lot in the company because, you know, everybody always gravitates Megadeth, Super DOA, Arthur, you know, people always, you know, and, you know, for obvious reasons, but this is a board that's a daily driver within a lot of people in the company. A lot of the reps, a lot of company people, we all have this and we all ride this, and a lot of us love this. And there's a couple of guys, you know, that are reps in North America. This is all they ride.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name who they are because I don't want to put them on the spot here on the show, but this is their daily driver. And for many, many years, this is all I rode. I didn't ride anything else. I always had my Merc and I rode this.
Yeah.
And it was everything. You know, I'm riding in the park with my kids. I'm hitting POW. I'm jumping out of helicopters with my friends. I'm doing every type of riding on this. Don't change the stance.
Yeah.
Don't change anything. It doesn't matter if it's this deep or bulletproof. It just works.
Yep.
That's what's great about this shape and this board. Yeah.
Stoked. Well, you guys, we got Tony on another one. Hopefully we see him again in the future. The show, as always, is brought to you by Cole Headwear, BALDFACE Lodge, the James Brand Knives, and This is Coffee. So I got to say it again. Please like and subscribe. As always, Tony, are you subscribed?
Of course I am. Absolutely.
Perfect. Thanks for watching, you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.